हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा माह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम हरे हरे। श्रीमते राधा गोविंद गोस्वामी निधि नामिने नमस्ते प्रभुपादि देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना रिधि अन्तस्थभद्राणि विधुनोति सुरत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवता सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। We'll read from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter 31, A Threat Against ISKCON. In a letter from Paris, Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada philosophical questions about the perfection of the spiritual master, and Prabhupada answered fully but sternly. A spiritual master is always liberated in any condition of his life. He should not be mistaken as an ordinary human being. This position of the spiritual master is achieved by three processes. One is called sadhan siddh, that means one who is liberated by executing the regulative principles of devotional service. Another is Kripasid, one who is liberated by the mercy of Krishna or his devotee. And another is Nityasid, who is never forgetful of Krishna throughout his whole life. These are the three features of the perfection of life. So far, Narad Muni is concerned, in his previous life, he was a maidservant's son, but by the mercy of the devotees, he later on became Siddha, and next life he appeared as Narada, with complete freedom to move anywhere by the grace of the Lord. So even though he was in his previous life a maidservant's son, there was no impediment in the achievement of his perfect spiritual life. Similarly, any living entity who is conditioned can achieve the perfectional stage excuse me, of life by the above mentioned processes, and the vivid example is Narad Muni. So I do not know why you have asked about my previous life, whether I was subjected to the laws of material nature. So even though accepting that I was subjected to the laws of material nature, does it hamper in my becoming spiritual master? What is your opinion? From the life of Narad Muni, it is distinct that although he was a conditioned soul in his previous life, there was no impediment of his becoming the spiritual master. This law is applicable not only to the spiritual master but to every living entity. So far I am concerned, I cannot say what I was in my previous life, but one great astrologer calculated that I was previously a physician, and my life was sinless. Besides that, to corroborate the statement of Bhagavad Gita, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashta Bhijayate, which means an unfinished yogi takes birth in rich family or born of a Suchi or pious father. Excuse me. By the grace of Krishna, I got these two opportunities in the present life to be born of a pious father and brought up in one of the richest aristocratic families of Calcutta, Kashinath Malik. The Radha Krishna deity in this family called me to meet him, and therefore, last time when I was in Calcutta, I stayed in that temple along with my American disciples. Although I had immense opportunities to indulge in the four principles of sinful life, because I was connected with a very aristocratic family, Krishna always saved me and throughout my whole life. I do not know what is illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, or gambling. So far, my present life is concerned, I do not remember any part of my life when I was forgetful of Krishna. Jai. Prabhupada thought some of his leaders had become entangled in ISKCON management and were trying to gain control for themselves. In the classes, he would speak of this only indirectly, as he had when he had exposed that the devotees weren't chanting and reading enough. Consequently, most devotees were unaware of Prabhupada's anxiety, but occasionally, while sitting in his room or in the garden, Prabhupada would express his concern. He wanted his disciples to manage ISKCON, but to do so, they must be pure. Only then would he be able to concentrate on writing books. In June, he wrote to Brahmananda, "Now, my desire is that I completely devote my time in the matter of writing and translating books. An arrangement should now be done that our society be managed automatically. I think we should have a central governing body for dealing with important matters. I have already talked with Garg Muni about this. So if you come back by the Rath Yatra festival, we can have a preliminary meeting at San Francisco in this connection." जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 8, verse 28 and 29. We are reading today. तत्रापि हाव आत्मनो मृगत्वाकारणं भगवत् आराधना समीहानुभावेन अनुस्मृत्य भृशम् अनुतप्यमाना aha. Would anyone like to recite the verse?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am doing.
Yes.
Tatrapi hova atmano mrigatva karanam bhagavataradham shumihanubhavenut bhavenanusmritya vrisham anutapyamano aho. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
धन्यवाद प्रणाम। तत्रापि वा आत्मनो मृगत्व कारणं भगवत् आराधन समिहानु भावेनानुस्मृत्य भृशम अनुतप्यमान आहो। हरे कृष्ण माता जी। आई एम आल्सो ट्राइंग।
धन्यवाद प्रणाम माताजी।
धन्यवाद प्रणाम। तत्रापि वा आत्मनो मृगत्व कारणं भगवत आराधन समीहा अनुभावेन अनुस्मृत भृशम अनुतप्यमान आह। हरे कृष्ण।
जय।
हरे कृष्ण माताजी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
धन्यवाद प्रणाम माताजी।
तत्रापि हावात्मनो मृगत्वा कारणं भगवताराधना समीहानुभावेनानु स्मृत्या भृशम् अनुतप्यमान आह। थैंक यू माताजी। हरे कृष्ण।
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. Synonyms and translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tatrapi, in that birth, Hava, indeed, Atmanaha, of himself, Mrigatva Karanam, the cause of accepting the body of deer, Bhagavad Aradhana Samhita, of past activities in devotional service, Anubhavena, by consequence, Anusmritya, remembering, Brisham, always, Anutapya, Manaha, repenting, Aha, said. Translation: although in the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj, due to his rigid devotional service in his past life, could understand the cause of his birth in that body. Considering his past and present life, he constantly repented his activities, speaking in the following way. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.8.29. I'm sorry I couldn't put the Devanagari script here. It's a very long verse. अहो कष्टं भ्रष्टोऽहम् आत्मा वाताम् अनुपथाद्यत् विमुक्ता समस्तसङ्गस्य विविक्ता पुनरेयान्य शरण्यस्यात्मवता आत्मनि सर्वेषाम् आत्मनां भगवति वासुदेवे तदनुश्रवणा मनना संकीर्तना राधना स्मरणा भी योगेन sakala yamena kalena samaveshitam samahitam katshena manastattu punar mama buddhasyaran mriga sutam anu parishushrava. Long words, if anyone would like to recite this.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am doing it.
No, no,
Aho kashtam bhrashtoham atmavatam anupatat jad vimukta samasta sangashe vivikta punyaranya sarana sasyatmavat atmani sarvesham atmanam Bhagavati Vasudeve tat anusravan manan sankirtana radhana anusmarana viyogena shunya sakala yamena kalena samaveshitam samahitam karsnena manusha tattu punar mama buddhasharan mriga sutam anu purishusrava. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I try?
Yes, please, Mataji.
अहो कष्टं भ्रष्टोऽहम् आत्मवतामनुपतात् यद्विमुक्त समस्त सङ्गस्य विविक्त पुण्यारण्य शरणस्यात्मवत् आत्मनि सर्वेषाम् आत्मनां भगवती वासुदेवे तद् अनुश्रवण मनन সংকীর্তনা আরাধনানুস্মরণাভিযোগেন শূন্য সকলয়ামেন কালেন সমাবেশিতম সমাহিতম কার্ষ্ণেন মনস্তত্তু পুনর্মমাবুধস্বরান মৃগসুতম অনুপরিশুশ্রাব. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I am also trying.
Mataji, would you like to read the synonyms
Yes,
instead?
Mataji,
Yes.
no problem.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Aho kashtam, alas, what a miserable condition of life. Bhrashta, fallen, aham, I am. Atma vatam, of great devotees who have achieved perfection. Anupathat, from the way of life, yat, from which. Vimukta, samasta sannasha, although having given up the association of my real sons and home. Vivikta, solitary. Punya aranya, of a sacred forest. Sharanasha, who had taken shelter. Atmavata, of one who had become perfectly situated on the transcendental platform. Atmani, of the super soul. Sarvesham, of all. Atmanam, living entities. Bhagavati, into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva, Lord Vasudeva. Tat, of him. Anushavana, constantly hearing. Anusravana, constantly hearing. Manana, thinking. Sankirtanam, chanting. Aradhana, worshipping. Anusmarana, constantly remembering. Abhijogena, by absorption in. Ashuna, filled. Shakala yamena, in which all the hours. Kalena, by time. Sama vestitam, fully established. Shamahitam, fixed. Katsnayana, totally. Mana, the mind in such a situation. Tat, that mind too, but punah, again. Mama, of me. Abhudhasya, a great full. Arat, from a great distance. Mrigasutam, the son of a deer, Anu, being affected by. Parisurva, fell down. Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Would someone like to read the translation?
May I, Mataji, please?
Yes, please. Yes, please, Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj began to lament. What misfortune! I have fallen from the path of the self-realized. I gave up my real sons, wife and home to advance in spiritual life, and I took shelter in a solitary holy place in the forest. I became self-controlled and self-realized, and I engaged constantly in devotional service, hearing, thinking, chanting, worshipping, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. I was successful in my attempt, so much so that my mind was always absorbed in devotional service. However, due to my personal foolishness, my mind again became attached, this time to a deer. Now I have obtained the body of a deer and have fallen far from my devotional practices. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Now we'll come to purports of these wonderful verses. 28th verse purport. Is there any volunteer to read this?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am reading it.
Sure. Yes.
Purport 5828. This is a special concession for a devotee. Even if he attains a body that is non-human, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he advances further in devotional service, whether by remembering his past life or by natural causes. It is not easy for a common man to remember the activities of his past life, but Bharat Maharaja could remember his past activities due to his great sacrifices and engagement in devotional service. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Purport 5829, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Due to his stringent execution of devotional service, Maharaj Bharat could remember the activities of his past life and how he was raised to the spiritual platform. Due to his foolishness, he became attached to an insignificant deer and thus fell down and had to accept the body of a deer. This is significant for every devotee. If we misuse our position and think that we are fully engaged in devotional service and can do whatever we like, we have to suffer like Bharat Maharaj and be condemned to accept the type of body that impairs our devotional service. Only the human form is able to execute devotional service. But if we voluntarily give this up for sense gratification, we certainly have to be punished. This punishment is not exactly like that endured by an ordinary materialistic person. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee is punished in such a way that his eagerness to attain the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva is increased. By his intense desire, he returns home in the next lifetime. Devotional service is very completely described here. Tad anushravana manana sankirtana aradhananu Smarana Abhiyogena, the constant hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord is recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dradhavrata. Those who have taken to Krishna consciousness should be very careful that not a single moment is wasted and not a single moment is spent without chanting and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his activities. By his own actions and by the actions of his devotees, Krishna teaches us how to become cautious in devotional service. Through the medium of Bharat Maharaj, Krishna teaches us that we must be careful in the discharge of devotional service. If we want to keep our minds completely fixed without deviation, we must engage them in devotional service full time. As far as the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are concerned, they have sacrificed everything to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. Yet they must take a lesson from the life of Bharat Maharaj to be very cautious and to see that not a single moment is wasted in frivolous talk, sleep, or voracious eating. Eating is not prohibited, but if we eat voraciously, we shall certainly sleep more than required. Sense gratification ensues, and we may be degraded to a lower life form. In that way, our spiritual progress may be checked, at least for the time being. The best course is to take the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami, avyartha kalatvam. We should see that every moment of our lives is utilized for the rendering of devotional service and nothing else. This is the secure position for one wanting to return home back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What a powerful purport by Srila Prabhupada on this very cold morning. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. We are discussing this wonderful chapter, which has verses after verses, power-packed verses, filled with so many devotee lessons for devotees. I would like to first thanks before I start the class. I would like to first thanks all the teachers who have helped me in understanding these two verses over this week. So I've been listening to Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj, Radhe Shyam Prabhuji, Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji, Vraj Bihari Prabhuji. Without those lectures and, of course, Srila Prabhupada's books, I would not be able to give this class. These are very powerful two verses. And if there is anything which you don't like, please understand that it's my shortcoming in communicating the meaning to you properly. But Srila Prabhupada has given the purport so powerfully that it would definitely give an impact somehow or the other. So let's go to quick recap of the chapter. Description of character of Bharat Maharaj, 5th canto, 8th chapter. So this is the whole chapter. 31 verses are there in this chapter. First to 7 verses, Bharat Maharaj sees a thirsty doe having a miscarriage on the bank of Gandaki river. He compassionately rescues the baby deer. And then from 8 to 15, we see that how Bharat Maharaj neglects his sadhana due to misplaced compassion. His attachment, affection, and attraction for the deer grow and he gets distracted from his worship. He gets agitated, anxious, and laments, whenever he doesn't see the deer. from 16 to 25th verse, we see that, he's having thoughts. He's having thoughts like, Bharat Maharaj is thinking, oh, I'm being negligent. The deer is so noble. And, whether I'll see him again, why he hasn't returned yet. He praises the deer as a prince, or like a submissive son, right? And the separation, Bharat Maharaj resembles his separation as to forest fire. And now this part of chapter 8, 26 to 31 verse. So we are on 28 and 29 we are discussing today, and then two more verses when the chapter will finish, and you'll see that Bharat Maharaj takes birth as deer in his next life and what happens then. So we saw that this is due to the absorption of the deer at the time of death, Bharat Maharaj attained deer body by Lord's will, we read in the purport, to intensify his devotional service, excuse me. Now, in these two verses, we'll see how Bharat Maharaj is repenting. And in the next two verses, over next 2 days, we will see how he becomes very careful and give up his dear body. So let's come back to today's verse, 28 and 29. Now, the purports ideally can be divided from a broader view in two parts. 28th verse talks about Lord's mercy from the purport, Srila Prabhupada's purport. Lord's mercy is shown, special mercy. And in verse 29, because Lord is so merciful, what are our duties, Jiva's duties towards the Lord and to retain that mercy? Right? So in 28th verse from the purports of Srila Prabhupada, we can see this is very prominent in the purport that Bharat Maharaj had got a special concession. And Srila Prabhupada writes that this is a special concession for a devotee. Only, a great devotee, and only by the grace of God, a devotee can remember his previous birth, and he would hanker to intensify his bhakti. So, see, in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that if you are not, if you have, if you are not good, you will be, getting lower species, a birth in lower species. So, animal birth is lower species, right? It is a lower species birth. However, how can we say that Bharat Maharaj has received the mercy, though the birth is lower species, but his consciousness is retained. And also, deer average life of deer I was looking at, it's 2 to 3 years. So it's a very short period, and in that short period, not only Bharat Maharaj remembered everything, but he also repented and hankered for intensifying his bhakti, right? And that's the mercy of Lord. This is the mercy of Lord, which is not very visible, but only a devotee like Srila Prabhupada can understand it and make us understand. Even if he attains a non-human body, Srila Prabhupada is right in the purport, by Lord's grace, he advances further in devotional service, whether by remembering his past life or by natural causes. So in this case, Jar Bharat's case, in past life. There is also another case in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Another example, which is, anyone remembers of past life? Any examples from Srimad Bhagavatam other than Jar Bharat? Okay, let me.
Indranamna Maharaj, Mother.
Yes, correct. Bang on, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Gajendra, right? Indradyumna Maharaj. Gajendra is praying to Lord. Now, we all know that what happens, Srimad Bhagavatam says in second chapter, that Gajendra, he was 26 verse. I'll just read the translation. Like a human being who lacks spiritual knowledge and is too attached to the members of his family, the elephant, being illusioned by the external energy of Krishna, had his wives and children bathe and drink the water. Indeed, he raised water from the lake with his trunk and sprayed it over them. He did not mind the hard labor involved in this endeavor. See, we all are like Gajendras at some point. We are so much entangled in this material world that we think that the labor, what we are doing, the hard labor, we think it's normal, right? And Gajendra was exactly like a normal jiva, who has turned away from the Lord. But when he was snapped by crocodile, right? What happened? Other elephants in 32nd verse, Srila Sukhdev Goswami says, the other elephants who are my friends and relatives could not rescue me from this danger. So Gajendra is thinking, what then to speak of my wives? They cannot do anything. It is by the will of providence that I have been attacked by this crocodile, and therefore I shall seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always the shelter of everyone, even of great personalities. So first he didn't realize. Then, when he realized he's in trouble and he saw that no one is able to help, he turned towards the Lord to get rid of his problem, right? When he turned towards the Lord and when he started offering the prayer, Lord reciprocated and he remembered everything about his previous birth. Right? He says, Jiji Vishena Hamiha Muya Kim Antar Bahischavratayebhya Yonya Ichhami Kalena Nayasya Viplava Tasyatmaloka Varanasya Moksham. What does he say? I do not wish to live anymore. Till now, he wanted, in verse 32 of second chapter, what did we saw? He wanted to get freed from this crocodile. But now what he's saying, Jiji Vishenaham Iha Moyakim. I don't want to live after. I don't want to live anymore after I'm released from the attack of crocodile. What is the use of an elephant's body covered externally and internally by ignorance? I simply desire eternal liberation from the covering of ignorance. That covering is not destroyed by the influence of time. So here Gajendra understood that he had been uh, in his previous birth, Lord Indradyumna, King Indradyumna, and he, because of a mistake, he took this birth of Gajendra, and in the birth of elephant, in this birth, he had been completely avoiding the Lord. But because of Lord's mercy, this is another special concession. Gajendra remembered everything about his previous birth, complete, and there was a complete change in attitude by the end of his prayers. Lord himself came and took him back. So this is from previous birth, as Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. And then he says by natural causes as well. It could be by previous birth or by natural causes. What is natural causes? Death is a natural cause, right? And who was helped during the time of death? Ajamil, by his chanting his son's name, Narayan. How Lord gave him a second chance. So Lord always is ready to shower mercy. This is a special concession Srila Prabhupada is talking about. Right? This may be understood as punishment, he writes in 29th verse, right? But not like how police does to thieves or culprits or, murderers. Rather, it is like a small pat on the hand and then taken back to the supreme abode. Right? The special concession we'll receive only when we are very sincere towards our dealings with the Lord and careful towards Maya's agents. We have to be very careful. Maya has countless agents who roam around. They can be our deers, as Bharat Maharaj had a deer. We had multiple deers and we won't even know. So, Nazar Hati, Durghatna Ghati can happen anytime. Right. Why Bharat Maharaj had a fall down? Because purposefully he became over addicted to the deer and neglected his spiritual advancement. Srila Prabhupada writes that also in the purport. So to immediately rectify his mistake, he was given deer's body by the Lord. Okay. How can we understand that this is Lord's special mercy? It could be anything, dear life, dear. Why you are saying it's Lord's special mercy? We have a proof. What is the proof? First, he remembered his previous life. 2, he was anxious to get out of this dear body. 3, he intensified. You will see in 28 and 30 and 31 how he intensified his austerity, his bhakti in the dear body. And 4th was after the dear body, he received a Brahmana body in his next life. Right. So this is our merciful Lord. So we talked about 2 parts. One is Lord's mercy, and then the other is duties. So let's see in 29th verse what Srila Prabhupada gave us for duties. What are the duties we as Jiva need to perform, right? So lesson what Srila Prabhupada writes us. The first is misusing our position will be dangerous. Don't take human birth for granted. How many times we have heard this? We have heard this multiple times, right? Like it is like this child who was being given a huge amount and said, "Oh, just keep it carefully, okay? Just keep it carefully." And the child is just happily counting, putting it in her pocket, and then just roaming around. And parents are getting overworked, hyped about the money will fall. It's real money. It will fall. Be careful. Be careful. Right? But what happens? The child is not, because he has not earned it. He doesn't know the importance of it. Right? We have got this bhakti due to our Sukriti, due to devotees' mercy, due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy, due to Gurudev's mercy, that we have got this devotional service. We have come into the path of devotional service. We don't understand the importance of it, and Shastras are tired again and again. They are not tired actually, but again and again there are examples where Shastras are telling us, be careful, be careful. In Shrimad Bhagavatam, this is a very famous verse, right? Everyone knows. Dehamadhyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam mayanukule nanabhasvaterhyam puman bhavad buddhim nataret sa atmaha. Would anyone like to read the translation?
Hare Krishna, can I read, please?
Yes, please, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavad Pranam. The human body, which can award all benefit in life, is automatically obtained by the laws of nature, although it is a very rare achievement. This human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat, having the spiritual master as the captain and the instructions of the personality of Godhead as favorable winds, impelling it on its course. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize his human life to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. See what the Lord is saying here in Uddhav Gita, killer of his own soul. Again and again, our scriptures, Srila Prabhupada is saying, don't misuse this human body is like a boat. This material world is like an ocean. And the spiritual master is the captain. We have been provided. Why do you want to jump out of the boat? Why do you want to kill your own soul, knowing the importance of it? Let's not kill our soul. Let's be very careful. You know, what happens if we are not careful? This is this example of camel and sheikh. That's a very famous example. You all would have heard it. Nothing wrong in revisiting it. So it was a very cold, starry night. This is a cold morning for us. It was a cold night in desert, and the sheikh put up his tent, parked his camel outside the tent, and he was sleeping nicely, warmly inside. And the camel was feeling cold, so he just put his nose inside the tent and said, "Master, can I please just warm up my nose?" So the sheikh said, that, "Yeah, it's okay. It's written here, right? It's just the nose. What could it hurt? Yeah, that's okay." After some time, camel again nudged the master and said, "Can I actually just put my face in, because it's actually getting very cold?" Sheikh said, "Okay, fine. Yeah, you can. That's fine." And then he tried to sleep again. After 10-15 minutes, again the camel nudged the sheikh and said, "Can I just put my legs in? Just two of them. I'll just put it, the front ones inside, just a little, just the hoof. Okay, please, please." And the sheikh said, "Yeah, nothing. It doesn't hurt. That's okay. But don't disturb me now. I want to sleep." Sheikh said that and slept. In another 20 minutes, he woke up shivering and noticed that he's out of the tent, and the camel was sitting inside the tent. That's what happens if we are not careful. The camel-like Maya would enter in our mind if we are not careful. One party with non-devotees, workmates, what wouldn't make much difference. One Ekadashi not kept, it's okay, I'll cover during Nirjala Ekadashi. If you keep Nirjala Ekadashi, all Ekadashis are covered, right? One reel on the phone you watch and you will be hooked for a couple of hours or even more. What does it show? What does it show? That Maya the Devi is very powerful. There's this interesting verse. Shri Prahlad Maharaj is telling to his friends. What is he saying? How can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart, being always filled with their pictures, give up their association? Specifically, a wife is always very kind and sympathetic and always pleases her husband in a solitary place. Who could give up the association of such a dear and affectionate wife? Small children talk in broken language, very pleasing to hear, and their affectionate father always thinks excuse me, of their sweet words. How could he give up their association? One's elderly parents and one's sons and daughters are also very dear. A daughter is especially dear to her father, and while living at her husband's house, she is always in his mind. Who could give up that association? Aside from this, in household affairs, there are many decorated items of household furniture, and there are also animals and servants. Who could give up such comforts? The attached householder is like a silkworm which weaves a cocoon in which it becomes imprisoned, unable to get out, simply for the satisfaction of two important senses, the genitals and the tongue. One is bound by material conditions. How can one escape? A 5 year old saying all these, by reading this, a 5 year old is telling us it's like an eye opener. It is so difficult to come out, to give up this association. Human birth is not given to satisfy our senses, right? We saw previously what Lord is saying, it's a boat. We are misusing our positions. We have this hold of Maya Devi. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. We will only be saved if we are very careful and don't waste any time in mundane activities, which takes us to the next important point which Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Avyarthakalatvam. Avyarthakalatmam. Best way to understand this is when His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji came to Auckland and even in his Wellington trip, he mentioned so beautifully how to not waste time. Right? In his class, he mentioned how Avyarthakalatvam can be dealt with, and he gave us an acronym for it. I'm sure every one of you remember. Let's revisit it again, right? TAP management. Do we remember? I hope so. So TAP management. T is time management. Avyarthakalatam. Let me not waste a single moment. Apart from the basic activities like eating and sleeping, rest of the time, I should be properly utilizing that time in Krishna consciousness, right? Krishna's service. Maximize our engagement in Krishna's seva. Like how many hours in a day are we utilizing Krishna's activities? And we should always introspect and see how many hours in a day we are spending in mundane activities. We should think about this very often. If I talk about myself, there is like hours I have in the evening after I have done all the activities, and I have hours left with me. It's my choice whether I choose to Netflix, look at some reels, or our beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada's books, right? This is just me. I'm talking about myself. So I know that, there are many people who would say, oh no, Mataji, this is not possible. We don't have time. We don't have time. We do have time. If we introspect carefully, we will see how much time we have been wasting. Right? Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji mentioned that self-preservation is needed, but apart from self-preservation, family care, etc., rest of the time, how much are we utilizing it for Krishna service, katha, kirtan, japa, etc.? We should introspect often and ask ourselves, are we utilizing our time nicely in devotional service? Right? The other T is time management and A is attention management. Now, if we are utilizing our time nicely, okay, say, yeah, Mataji, I do my time nicely, spend my time nicely in Krishna conscious activities when I'm not doing anything else. Then next step we should think about is how attentive we are while performing these activities. While investing time in devotional activities like japa, how much attention I'm giving to it. In 2 hours of japa, I'll talk about myself again. In 2 hours of japa, if I am even attentive, I'm actually very ashamed to say that. So I'll not even talk about how much time I'm attentive while my japa, right? But we should be very mindful. We should be very mindful and attentive while doing our japa. We all know that. But are we consciously taking that effort to be attentive? Right? In Kali Yuga, being attentive is very difficult. In Kali Yuga, our Guru Maharaj mentioned that attention means, or being attentive means, bringing our mind again and again back to the activity. That would be considered as being attentive in Kali Yuga, because our mind in Kali Yuga is very different and very difficult to curtail. right? So we should be mindful and attentive while performing our devotional activities, like listening to class, how much time I'm being attentive, how much time I'm dozing off. Again, introspect. There's a lot of introspection needed, right? Now, we might be giving time, we might be giving attention. However, are we prioritizing it? Are we prioritizing it? Right? We have to prioritize different devotional service activities like japa, reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Do not take these activities lightly. Listening to Krishna Katha, they are priority. They are like nutrition to our body, to our soul, spiritual body, right? Prabhuji mentioned very nicely in the class, His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji. So this is all from Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji, tap management. I'm sure every one of you know that in the name of service, sometimes we don't prioritize japa, reading books, even Vaishnava character. We sometimes focus more on productivity in our service rather than being a proper, in giving proper etiquettes or behaving in proper etiquettes or quality interactions. That this can be our biggest mistake if we don't prioritize. That's what happened with Jar Bharat Maharaj. He changed his priority from devotional service activities to deer service activities. Right? He had time. He was doing time management. He was doing attention management. But then what happened? The deer came and priorities changed. So this tap management is very helpful tool for devotees to introspect on. The more we have right tap management in our lives, the more strong we would be in our devotional activities. We'll be, we should never neglect some of the activities which will make us really strong, like this very happy guy who is lifting weights. These activities, as I mentioned, provides nutrition to the body, which in turn increase the strength of our devotional service. And also very important, how sometimes we say, Prabhuji, how, or Mataji, how you are able to take the decision. It is such a difficult decision. How can you take that? I know it gives so much in boost to your devotional service, but I might have thought many times before taking the decision. You know what? The prioritizing of our activities like japa, reading Srila Prabhupada books, Kirtan, Katha, Shravan, Hari Katha Shravan, what they do, they give us the strength to accept favorable things in Krishna consciousness and reject unfavorable things on Krishna consciousness. The first two steps of Sharanagati. This is the strength given. If you are not neglecting, and prioritizing your japa, reading of Srila Prabhupada books, Shravan Kirtan, right? Listening to Srila Prabhupada, Guru, senior devotees, and then preach the same knowledge to others. When you do that, you have the strength to accept every favorable service to Krishna consciousness, and very, very, very focusfully and attentively you can reject the unfavorable things from Krishna consciousness. So never leave these activities for the last block of the day. Sometimes devotees leave these activities, japa, reading Srila Prabhupada books. I'm not talking about, do not read it or do not do it. I'm talking about sometimes devotees just leave it for the last block of the day. Please don't do it. It's very, very, very difficult to complete it. And the attention and focus of mind is just sometimes very low, and zero also sometimes. But yeah, so if we want to be strong, we have to do the step management. And if we don't, Srila Prabhupada gives us a warning in this verse itself. The next point, Srila Prabhupada is giving warning for ISKCON devotees. This is just for us. See how nicely Srila Prabhupada says that, ISKCON devotees have already sacrificed so much for this movement. But what does he say? Overeating will lead to oversleeping. That will lead to sense gratification, and that would degrade us to lower forms. Progress would be checked, at least for the time being. Right? We should be very careful and alert in devotional service. I'll show a video. Let's just quickly see this video. Why it's not playing? Oh yeah. So the deer is drinking water. And some of you might have already seen this, but See, very swiftly, the attack of crocodile came. Deer was drinking water, and nothing happened. You see, crocodile has watched, it's gone down again, waiting for its next prey, like Maya Devi. See, this is in slow motion. The reason why it's in slow motion and why we should see is, see how active the deer was? Did we notice how active the deer was? Right? When the crocodile came, he picked his back legs, he pulled them more high than the front ones, and he ran because he knew that from the back he might be able to catch me. That's how we should be while doing our prioritizing activities like japa. Attention should be there, alertness should be there, right? Generally, I'm sure no devotee wants to have a fall down, right? I am not aware of any devotee. There might be some, but no, not any devotee wake up and say, today I'll have a fall down. Did Ajamil wanted to have a fall down? No. Did Jar Bharat wanted to have a fall down? No. Did Kala Krishnadas wanted to have a fall down? No. So why do we fall down? Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, misuse of human life will become dangerous and we will come under the shelter of Maya Devi. Right? Maya will always be there. She is here. She is here to stay. Do we know that? She is here to stay. Are we here to stay? No. We want to go back to Godhead soon. So let's try to do what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Let's not misuse human life. Let's look at these warnings. Let's not overeat, oversleep, right? Let's not waste a moment of our life. Focus on avyartha kalatvam and revisit these 4 A's, which are very important. And again, as I mentioned, everyone would know. But it's always good to have a recap. So the 4 A's, which will help us to be careful from Maya. Attitude. First and foremost, Srila Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Instructions purport, the advancement of Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the sadhaka, right? Attitude. Show the attitude of avyartha kalatvam, not wasting. Our attitude should be very clear. We should not waste even one moment. And our motive is very clear and focused, like Hanumanji's motive when he was flying over the ocean to go to Lanka. His motive was very clear. When Menak Parvat came, in the beginning only, the first thing came was Menak Parvat. Please take some rest, you know. Hanumanji touched the mountain and asked for forgiveness and said, no, I have to go very far. So I have to first do that activity, right? That's the attitude. I am here to serve. Yesterday, we had this class, the teacher training course by Prem Nidhi Prabhuji, and he mentioned the functional aspect of soul is to love and please. So my functional aspect is to please the God, please the Lord. In that attitude, if we serve, in that, even if we commit any mistake, accept those mistakes. Don't give reasons. Accept the mistake and move on. In that way, even if you fall down, you will not just stay there. Because if the attitude is to progress forward, even if we fall down, we have at least not fall away. We have just had a fall down. Right? The second point is attentive and alert. We have to be attentive in tap management. I covered it, how attentiveness in Kali Yuga is conscious effort to bring back the mind. Yato yato nischalti manas chanchalam astharam. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. This is, as Gadai Gaurang Prabhuji was mentioning yesterday also, Bhagavad Gita is in play here in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a practical aspect. So we should always consciously try to bring back the mind. We should be very, very alert. Forget how alert we should be. Look at Sukdev Goswami, how much alert he was. He was not coming out of the womb. Why? Because of Maya Devi. Srila Prabhupada writes, even a liberated soul. Sukdev Goswami was a liberated soul, but he was alert of, that's why he was alert of Maya. So even a liberated soul cannot be taking Maya lightly. Lord himself has to come and give guarantee to Sukdev Goswami that Maya will not touch him. And then Sukdev Goswami came out. right? So how much attentive and alertness is important in our life, this shows us, right? Wherever the mind wanders, bring it back. That's the attentiveness. Third, you should have proper attitude. You are attentive and alert, but you should have that aspiration at the same time too, like how Hanumanji had an aspiration to serve the Lord. Aspiration, Gajendra had the aspiration, Jiji Vishe Naham Iha Muyakim. Take charge of my life, Lord, I'm surrendered to you. We all should have that aspiration. Because see, Lord gives what we want. If why didn't Lord stop Jad Bharat from falling? Because at that moment Jad Bharat wanted to associate with the deer. Lord will not take any possessions without permissions or without the will of the person. So aspiration should always be there, that I want to surrender to you, Lord. Yeah, I'm unable to now, right? But I want to. I want you to take charge of my life. That aspiration should be there. Now, even after you have the attitude, perfect attitude, attentive, do you think Jar Bharat didn't have the perfect attitude? Do you think Jar Bharat was not attentive and alert in the beginning? Did he not had aspiration? He had all those two, all these three. But still, when he saw the deer, he became compassionate, over compassionate, right? Why was that? The very, 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 this is the pillar of our devotional service association. Devotees, mentors, senior devotees, mature devotees, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj. This is the association which will be taking us away from Maya. The right association takes us away from Maya. Right? Don't you think if Jar Bharat would be an association of Maya, association of devotees, a devotee would have said, what are you doing, Jar Bharat Prabhuji? Oh, sorry, Bharat Maharaj, what are you doing? You are wasting too much time in deer. Come, let's chant together. Let's do this. That's what devotees and mentors. Srila Prabhupada has made this beautiful house in which we all can live in. Why has he done that? Why has he, Srila Prabhupada didn't had association. He was hankering for association when he came to West. He created association. And he didn't create an association just for himself, for all of us too. For all of us too, because this association, the right association, will keep us alive and active in Krishna consciousness, right? There are always two kinds of devotees, Goshthanandi and Bhajananandi. We want to not just be Bhajananandi, we have to be Goshtianandi as well. That is what the last and most important pillar to be careful is. It is like a huge wall from Maya. It can, and that's why you will see all the devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam, they all hanker for devotee association in their prayers to the Lord. Okay, so let's conclude these two verses. Recap of transcendental purports of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the first part we see was Lord's mercy, how he gave special concession for pure devotees. Jar Bharat was made as deer, but his consciousness was retained and he was hankering to intensify his bhakti. The next 3 points are from 29th verse, where misusing our position can be dangerous and we should not take human birth for granted. We discussed that, how Prahlad Maharaj is mentioning that it is very, very, very difficult, but how Lord has also mentioned that this human body is very rare achievement. It's a boat and spiritual master is the captain. So we should just cross this material ocean. Then we talked about avyartha kalatvam, tap management by His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji. Time management, attentiveness, and priority management should be done. And then how Srila Prabhupada also give warning for ISKCON devotees that overeating, oversleeping, these can ensue sense gratification, which will degrade us and our progress will be checked. So to make our progress continuing and flourishing, we have to always be attentive of the 4 A's. What were the 4 A's? Attitude, alertness or attentiveness. We can say the second one. Third was aspiration. And the fourth is association. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for patiently listening. Hare Krishna. Stop sharing. Any questions, comments? I assume there are none.
Hare Krishna, Sita Mataji.
Oh, Hare Krishna Mataji,
Dandavat pranams. Very, very nice class. I loved the way so many nice examples, especially Jiji Vishen. That verse is very, very beautiful. And thanks for reminding us of that. And also a very nice way of keeping it engaged, putting the video in there. It was so nice and engaging. Thank you very much for a wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. The video was one thing when I watched Radhesham Prabhuji's lecture, it stuck me and it impacted me that how much important, sometimes visual is more important than just words. So all thanks to devotees. Jai.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much for the very nice class, giving various examples from the books and other things. Ultimate thing is that we never get misdirected from our goal, and that is the purpose of human life. And the purpose of human life is to go back to Godhead, and we have to take extreme care to do that. And although the verse you have told very nicely, we have got this human form of life very easily, but it's a very rare facility that we have been offered by the Lord because of our past good activities. Devotional service, we have got this service, and we have to utilize it very nicely so that we never get misdirected and you have very nicely explained the various problems that may come through the form of Maya, that often we neglect it and thought it that by taking a small amount of negligence, we can repair it maybe in the next time, but it never gets repaired, and it only directs in that direction. The Maya is very powerful, and in fact, the purpose of human life is, as you have very nicely told, is given also in Suta Goswami is also in his reply to the Shaunak Rishi, that when he was told he put 6 questions, of course, and in that one, I think in verse first canto, second chapter, verse 9 and 10 in particular, Dharmasya Yopavargasya. What is the purpose of life? The purpose of dharma is to remove the pavargas of this life human, but very often people do not understand that. They think that they are in illusion. They think that they are in happiness, and maybe by some endeavor they can increase their happiness. But it is not a place for happiness. The Lord has told repeatedly in that this is a dukkhalayam. But we have to understand that, and if we understand that, and we can make endeavor. And also the endeavor also is told in the next verse, where it is told the purpose, sense gratification is necessary, but sense gratification is for maintenance of the body. So long it is necessary to maintain the body perfectly so that we can engage in devotional service. But the purpose of life is not sense enjoyment only. The purpose of senses are there given by the Lord to utilize it for the service of the Lord, and not for our personal enjoyment. And that is what a human being can understand. No other animal. Of course, in this example, you have very nicely told that Bharat Maharaj was, in his next life, he became a deer, but he was able to understand it by the mercy of the Lord. But it never happens in general. So this human life is a rare opportunity. We have to understand that we have get it in 9.4 million species of life. Human life is very, very small fraction of it is human life. And we have got it, and we have to understand that we have to utilize it properly. And by utilizing it properly, only we can fulfill our goal and go back to Godhead. Thank you very much for explaining this very nicely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for unpacking this verse in so many different ways. It's amazing how through you managed to give so many different perspectives on these 2 verses. One of the things that really very instructive for me is that Bharat Maharaj, because he fall down, he was not blaming somebody else. He was not like he didn't have this victim perspective, and he was taking responsibility for his fall down. He said, considering his past life, He constantly repented, is actively speaking in the following way. He was repenting, reflecting what went wrong. He was not blaming somebody. It's very instructive because sometimes we have some issues, challenges in life. We get digressed or some challenges, and we say, oh, this person did not do it, or Krishna didn't help me. He was not blaming anybody. He was so reflective. And he was taking full responsibility for his fall down. And he was reflecting how he became foolish. He says, due to my own foolishness, my mind again became attached. He's taking full responsibility. So it's very instructive. Sometimes we have these issues, maybe health challenges or some devotee relations issues. Then we tend to think, oh, this person did this to me, and we're trying to blame somebody, and we're trying to become like a victim. And that mentality doesn't help in spiritual progress. But here we can see Bharat Maharaj is quite opposite. He's taking full responsibility for his fall down, he's reflecting and he's repenting. So for me, it's very, very instructive. So I think Krishna and devotees really become more merciful when a person is in that sort of reflective mood, taking responsibility for down.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, we don't. If you become victimhood, then we don't. I don't think Krishna will or the devotees will become helpful. So that's one of the lesson from these two words I really appreciated. Thank you, Mother Hare Krishna.
No, so true, Prabhuji, and that's why attitude is very important. Bharat Maharaj had the correct attitude. Yeah, so true. Thank you for bringing that point, Prabhuji.
We still have a few minutes. Anybody want to have any reflection, question, comments? Otherwise, I end here. Doesn't seem to be Mother, so we'll end here. Vancha
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय गीता माता जी की जय शिला प्रभुपाद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल थैंक यू वेरी मच